then Oklahoma State and Notre Dame fill it out there as at 5 and 6. 5 of the previous 7 years of the playoff, a team outside the top 4 at this juncture wound up making it. So we'll see if one of those two does get in. And as promised, here are Heather and Paul. And let's just for catch up anybody, Heather, for those who didn't watch it last night, on what the committee chair said about the departure of Brian Kelly, the timing of that, and how it could impact Notre Dame.
Greeny, Selection Committee Chair Gary Barta said yesterday that after all of the conference championship games have been played, that's when the Selection Committee will consider potentially how the absence of Brian Kelly with Notre Dame could impact Notre Dame in the postseason. It's part of their protocol. But I should point out, it's one of several tiebreakers that the committee can use to help distinguish among comparable teams. The question is, do they have to use those tiebreakers? Is Notre Dame comparable at 11-1 with no conference championship and no CFP top 25 wins? Remember, Wisconsin dropped out last night, so their best wins are against unranked Wisconsin and Purdue.
Yeah, exactly. So let's get there. Paul, there's a lot of different ways chaos could ensue this weekend. Is there any in which, in your view, Notre Dame winds up in the dance?
It's a very slight window, Greeny, and it would have to be absolute carnage because I think Notre Dame would lose tiebreakers against a couple of other schools. They don't play in a conference, so they don't have a conference game. That normally hurts you. If everyone loses, then maybe that would help them because they're sitting at home. But my gut feeling is Notre Dame and Brian Kelly and Baton Rouge is going to sit this one out.
Yeah, the next time, Brian Kelly might wind up in the Final Four at some point soon, but it won't be there. All right, meanwhile, let's go to the SEC. And, Booger, let's go to the championship game there. Georgia is in. Alabama, we think, needs a victory here. They're a 6.5-point underdog. How do they do it? How does Alabama win this game?
Well, Alabama, I think, has the best quarterback in the country in Bryce Young. His poise, his accuracy, how he plays. I think he's going to be a Heisman Trophy winner, Greeny. So does he have his Heisman moment against the best defense that maybe we've seen in the last decade in college football? Alabama has talent. This is just not up to the level that we're used to seeing. So I think the game is going to be close. I do expect Georgia to win. I think they pull away and maybe win by double digits toward the end. And so if that being the case, Greeny, if we expect Alabama to lose, Cincinnati is taking on Houston. Oh, by the way, Houston is 11-1. That game could go either way. Then you look at Oklahoma State going against a Baylor team that is playing really, really well. To Paul's point about Notre Dame, I can see a path that's really, really easy where Notre Dame is sitting there 11-1. If Alabama loses, Cincinnati loses, okay, we're going to say Michigan wins. Then what do we do with Notre Dame? I think Notre Dame, those players, Jack Swarbrick, everyone is sitting there saying, we have just as good a shot as anyone right now, and we don't play. Now, you would love to control your own fate, but they don't. But I think we can sit here Monday morning and be like, yeah, that was pretty easy for Notre Dame to get in.
Well, let's give it a different scenario, Paul. How about Alabama losing a very close game to Georgia? One of these, like the nonsense that is the overtime, in my opinion, but whatever, that we saw last week against Auburn. If they lose some kind of game like that, is there a path for Nick to get in with 2 losses?
I think so. If there's a lot of carnage and if you have the Notre Dame-Alabama comparison that Booger was referring to, I think the committee very likely would go with Alabama if it's a narrow loss because Alabama has played a much better schedule than Notre Dame. Yes, they would have a loss at Texas A&M and a loss to the #1 team, but they played a lot of ranked teams, including Ole Miss, which they beat by double digits, which is now a top 10 team.
Yeah.
Notre Dame just doesn't have very much, and I think that's really going to be their problem.
There's nothing better than when everyone is disagreeing, and that is, I guess, the beauty of the sport.
Well, Green, here's the thing I was saying. This committee has never put a 2-loss team in. So what do we think, or why do we think this would be the year they would put a 2-loss team in, Paul?
They may have to, is the point.
Well,
there could come a scenario.
Yeah, the only thing I would say to that, Booger, is the committee does change every year. This isn't the Supreme Court that's been sitting there for a long time, although the Supreme Court hasn't been sitting there for a long time. I think it's difficult, but there have been points in the past where a 2-loss team could have gotten in. Auburn could have been the SEC champion 3 years ago or 4 years ago with 2 losses, but it's unlikely. But I think the fact that Alabama would be coming off of a narrow loss to the best team in the country, which there is no dispute over, would give them an advantage.
All right, one more thing I have to get in here quickly, or I want to because it's very important. Heather, tell everybody why what you are covering today is such a potentially monumental day for the sport.
Because, Greeny, I think college football fans are going to hear a resolution from the CFP Management Committee one way or another. That means at the end of the day today, I think they either walk out of that meeting and say, we can't agree, we're going to stay at 4 teams for the rest of this playoff through 2025, or they're going to walk out of the room and they're going to say, we're going to expand to 12 teams. One of those two things I think will happen. The least likely, least popular option is kicking the can down the road again for a few more weeks or to the national championship in January. Nobody wants to do that. These guys are tired of it, but they still don't agree.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.